Hello and welcome back to AI in Focus, the Thoughtbot show where we dive in and work on real code, real problems, specifically using new AI tools, techniques that are out there. And it is my pleasure today to welcome Justin Bowen to the show, the creator of a new Rails Gem active agent. Justin, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Chad. I'm really excited to be here and yeah, share what I've built so far with Active Agent and see what we can build together.
What we're going to be doing today is taking some code that we've written previously on the stream for answering questions from internal documentation, a retrieval augmented generation problem, and rewriting that, refactoring that to use Active Agent. And before we do that, you're going to give a demo of Active Agent things. But where does it? Where were you inspired? Or how were you inspired to work to create Active Agent?
Yeah, it's a few things. Last year, I was actually working full time as a staff AI engineer at a company that's got a big Rails monolith, been around for almost 10 years. And when they hired me, I thought they were going to use my background, which is like Python, machine learning, and Rails. But we ended up doing a lot of Next.js because of the AI SDK. So there's a lot of inspiration from the Next.js AI SDK. There's inspiration from some of the other Python frameworks that I've seen and used out there. And then it kind of started as a joke at Sin City Ruby last year. Honestly, like I just kind of joked about the name, and Marco Roth and Landon and Irina were there. And they kind of were all like, oh, you should do that. And later in the year, like months later, Irina followed up and reminded me and gave some not so
the kick in the pants you needed to make it happen.
To actually publish something. So and yeah, I initially published in October or November, just before the holidays and just before taking a bit of a sabbatical myself. But I've been back at it all of February, and I got some cool new features and
awesome
more to come. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to dive in. So let's, we've shown this feature that we have in this internal system at Thoughtbot. where we suck in all of our company handbook, our playbook, which is public, our guides repo, and it's basically a search engine. And so you can bring it up with Command K, and this is going to search all of those things. And so let me. So if we wanted to see time off, it's going to show us things from our CRM as well as our handbook, and guides and those kinds of things as well. So I had the idea of using RAG to be able to answer, to ask questions of the documentation. So do you have an example of a question people might ask of
How do I get started?
Thoughtbot or a company documentation?
I guess is it like a company manual documentation is what we're looking at? Okay. Time off, maybe.
Okay.
Or remote work policy is another fun one. Let's do fun ones.
So when you do when you put some with a question mark, what it does is that triggers ask the LLM.
Okay.
So it says our remote work policy can be found. Oh, let me make this a little bit bigger. In the planning guide for in-person gatherings under the section working alongside other team members from any location, including co-working spaces, is okay. That's an interesting answer. It's maybe not quite 100% correct. But what it did was it did a search to find relevant documents, and then it passed those to the LLM as context, with a prompt. So let's go over to the code. When you do the view, there is using form that is TurboStream form. It has a prompt URL. That's a separate endpoint than the regular search endpoint that you're doing if you're just typing. And then there's a stimulus controller that detects the question mark, and then it calls Ask GPT instead. And then that method shows the spinner, and does a fetch request to that alternative endpoint, and then displays the response. If we go over to the prompt controller, you can see that uses the question class, calls perform on it, and then renders the response as JSON. The question class is the class that does a search using the question that's asked to pull out the relevant documents. It loops through the documents to keep the token length under the context size that we've set. And then once it has the relevant context, it calls a prompt class with the generic prompt. So that prompt class is completely generic. So we have to take our context and then do this prompt as well. So it says, using only the information provided above, answer the following question and provide the URL where the answer can be found. And so that's how I'm getting it to not hallucinate, and to show the link. So in these documents, you can see we're giving a markdown of the document title, the URL where it is, and then the full text of the document.
Got it. And it is just like that initial prompt and no other like it's not using any tools to retrieve anything. It's just prefetching the documentation using that as the context.
It's what it's doing is this search class here is actually talking with an Elasticsearch instance. And so all these documents have been indexed in Elasticsearch. This is one of the things I've talked about on the stream in the past, is like a lot of people start thinking about this problem and they're like, oh, I've got to spin up a vector database. I've got to index all these things. What we find is, and we've done not only at ThoughtBot, but for client projects as well, a lot of times if we start doing that, we're going to bog down the start of the project and the progress we're able to make. But what we've found is a lot of organizations already have a search engine that has the things that they want to search. That was the case for us. And it's been the case for some other clients as well. And so rather than introducing that, we're able to do full text search, that kind of thing, to pull out relevant search results that can be then fed into context instead of having to introduce a whole bunch of additional infrastructure.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it is a really good point to highlight that RAG doesn't have to be vector search. And vector search and vector embeddings have been around for a while. So my first introduction using them was in 2016, 2017, generating vectors of cow face images and indexing those to try to identify.
Was that for an actual project?
Yeah, the company was acquired by what is now dairy.com, but it was a big ag tech company funded by Cargill Animal Nutrition. So,
wow,
fun, different kind of AI application.
Yeah.
I know a lot more about dairy cows than most. I probably talked in more pubs about dairy cows than most people that aren't dairy farmers anyway.
If we finish early, we can dig into that problem.
But yeah, no, it's great. And I think, it shows that RAG could be a tool call that fetches data from an API. It doesn't have to be a tool call. It could just be something you preload as part of the instructions, or a system prompt, or what you have here, if that's a user prompt.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
And then we have the prompt
itself
class.
Is the context.
Which is a very simple class. It's just doing the request against ChatGPT, getting the response, and is wrapping it in a response object. Excuse me. So you want to jump over now and give a demo of Active Agent outside of this code base?
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, it is very new.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that, not only is Active Agent new, but that's one of the things that I think is exciting about new open source projects, and is that when you're involved in them early, you get to shape them, and sort of it's all greenfield, right?
Yeah. And it's just at a certain point, I don't know where to start, because most likely people haven't seen any of it anyway. So, but I guess what we'll start with is a working example of just a basic support agent, is what I have it called. And you can see I've given it instructions and a model, the provider that I want it to use. I have a couple callbacks that are should be familiar to any Rails developer that's ever used any kind of abstract controller. And then I have a method called getCatImage. And this method is a public method, as you can see. It's the only public method on the support agent class. Will provide the agent with the JSON schema that it needs, as well as the potential for rendering a template for the output of this method as a tool call. You can also use these methods as, I'll show you the application agent. These methods can be used as prompt templates or as UI templates for the user. So this would be just a basic text prompt. You're just trying to chat with the agent. Let's actually change it, not the support agent, but the application agent, who in this context should actually not have any understanding of how to show you a cat.
Hey, Justin, I'm just going to stop. People are saying that they can't see the screen, but we don't see the problem on our side. So I'm not quite sure what's happening. I'm gonna just remove your screen for a second, then add it back and see if it.
I was just happy it's working. So far, so good. I promise.
If you're watching this stream, did it go away and come back now?
Yeah, I'm curious, what do people see? See if I can open my.
You're on my computer now, Justin.
I'm sorry. My bad. Get off of there. Oh, interesting. It shows your little. Maybe you had a keynote up. The coming up March 13th was on the screen.
Well, that's just the background to the stream.
Is it supposed to overlay my?
Yeah,
screen
I'm
share?
not.
Interesting. Oops, sorry, that's me touching your screen again. Still getting used to using the tuple on a live stream. Oh, I see it now.
Okay.
I'm watching the Twitch stream, so
okay.
Maybe chat can confirm that we all can see my screen now, and then I'll just kind of start over, but
Weird.
from the application agent.
I don't know what happened, but
cool. But we can see my screen. That's confirmed.
Yeah.
All right. So we can see here. We're looking at the application agent class that similar to like your application mailer or application controller, you can have some basic defaults for your agents to inherit from. And the message that I sent previously was to show me a cat. And so the application agent itself doesn't have any actions, and so therefore can only describe a cat. I'm actually surprised that it described a cat. Usually it says it can't show images. It does at the end. Okay. So yeah, it says it can't show images, and then you can also see that there are no actions available to that agent. That's because text prompt is a default action that isn't considered by the rendering engine or the schema template rendering. So you won't get any tool calls coming out of that method there. But if we look back at the support agent, and again, I think you couldn't see my screen, so I'll double back a little bit. The support agent, in this case, I have just basic instructions, says you're a support agent, do your job. I don't even mention the tools, but in a more complex scenario, it is good to kind of mention what tools it has available. And then this tool, when I call show me another cat with no context other than that, will actually render base64 image that is coming from this method call. That's a private method that just uses this website that I found. And I realize now you can't see my full screen, but it is cat as a service, and it just renders a cute cat every time you go to it. I also realized I can't really show you the reveal, which is the interface that I was planning on using for a demo, unless I can share my screen again or change my screen
you
share.
should be able to.
Oh, that's yours.
Yeah, if you go to yours, you should be able to change it to your full screen.
Yeah, let's do that.
So when you say tools, just so we're clear, this is function calling with ChatGPT, right?
Yes, this is.
So it's really a wrapper around that.
Yep. Yeah. And this is a wrapper around.
And almost like a DSL for writing that in Ruby.
Yeah, in a way. It is basically what we're defining. Let me have my screen back here. My screen's actually like ultra wide. So I'm just going to share a window. Otherwise, it might be. Unless I can share a portion of my screen. No. It's a dual quad HD, so it's like 49 inches, but very long. Here, I'll just do this. And yeah, that should be good enough. Yeah, so any action that you define, similar to an action controller or an action mailer, will maybe get the GitHub so we can talk about it. Push that up. But yeah, basically any action you define within, just using this to show code now that I can't show you my other one. Any action you define inside an agent is going to be provided to that agent as a callable tool. That doesn't necessarily mean it needs to call that tool. That just means it's an option for it to call that tool. In this case, when I said, show me another cat, please ignore the coloring. This is a tool call, so it's different than the assistant or the user chat. And I don't have that in there yet. It will generate a cat image. It's not generating the cat image necessarily. It is just calling cat as a service. But again, to demonstrate that you could use this to fetch some more data. And then if you wanted, for example, ask it about the data that it fetched, like tell me about this cat, it might tell me that it is a black and white tuxedo looking cat wearing a tie. So yeah,
I understand people can't see the screen anyway. I apologize for the trouble.
I'm going to stop
folks.
screen
I don't
sharing,
know.
and we'll give the screen share back to you. I
Yeah,
guess,
I don't know what's happening. But we got a good question from Aaron. Oh, that's not the one. What would you say are the advantages of Active Agent over just writing plain old Ruby objects?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, while I'm chatting, bring up your code, and it's nothing like about your code. It's just you kind of have to write a lot of code right now to get stuff done, and it ends up being spread out over a few places. And the idea is to help you encapsulate that code, as well as encapsulate the whole prompt and response cycle and things like handling tool calls or prompt template rendering, like you have that content block there. All of that can be handled with action prompt and the generation provider module within Active Agent. So it helps to kind of compress all of that complexity so that you can focus on your business logic and not all of this, how do I interface with ChatGPT and the OpenAI gem or the Anthropic gem or whatever your generation provider is.
Cool. So for example, like I've written in the code here, a generic prompt class.
I'm sure everyone has.
I've had to, it's a little bit like, you know, what are the best practices, you know, making sure that it stays in like.
An active agent action prompt, they are basically plain old Ruby objects. I thought about using active model like you are here, but I decided it's kind of like too much. And later I might extract it as a separate gem as just like action prompt or just prompt that action prompt uses. A lot of the inspiration for active agent as a gem overall came from action mailer. And action mailer has a mail gem that it depends on that provides all of these fancy mail and message features that are glued together with the abstract controller and action view rendering template engine. But I've done something similar so that you can render prompts rather than mail messages. They're prompt messages.
So we have another question: is Active Agent similar to LangChain? And it's not really.
Yeah. I would say LangChain is a good example. LangChain Ruby, for example, from Andre, who's a good friend. It does give you a lot of similar capabilities, but I would from the aspect of Active Agent's much more Rails focused. So maybe you could compare it to LangChain Ruby -Rails gem that Andre put out. That's very model oriented and neighbors and vector oriented. So it's kind of limited in that regard. But I would say LangChain is more of the generation provider interface and some of the action prompt stuff, but less of this abstract controller as an agent class. And that's where LangChain, if you look at the Python community side of things, they actually have LangGraph and LangSmith. LangSmith is where they're having people pay for a service for prompt like end model evaluation and stuff like that. And those are LangGraph and LangSmith are where people are kind of building their agents and defining their agents. And so, yeah, it's more like Crew AI if you're familiar with the Python side of things, or LangGraph, I would say. But again, very specific to Rails and in a format that hopefully Rails developers will appreciate.
Cool. Good. And Aaron, I see your question about showing the code example one more time.
Yeah, we can try.
I think we can jump over to my code now, and we're going to actually use replace this existing code with Active Agent. I hope that will connect it for people in terms of what the capabilities actually are and how to use it.
Yeah, and if they really want to see cats later, I am pushing that repo up, so
yeah,
they can get cats later.
So let's create a branch and get for our work. So where would you say is the based on what you've seen in the existing code, one of the best places to start? Actually, we need to add Active Agent to the gem file, right?
Yeah, let's, I guess, start by going through the README, seeing if that works. I think actually is one thing a lot of people have been complaining about. It's hard for me to keep the README up to date, so it'll get stale. And also we'll just have like bugs and stuff. So
okay.
We are moving quickly with development here. But yeah, just on the GitHub.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so here's what we put here. Let me make this a little bit bigger so people can see it.
I did just push a release that I haven't announced yet, so you're going to be using.
We're on the cutting edge here, folks.
We're going to be using it live. Yeah.
You've seen it. You're seeing it here first. Okay.
Well, first thing worked.
Yeah. So
interesting.
It's trying to install 0.0.0.0, which is weird.
That is weird.
So what is the best version to install? 3.1.5?
There is no 3.1.
3? Oh, it's hallucinating gem versions.
Yeah, did they?
Oh, it's string IO that it's complaining about.
Yeah, it is interesting though that it fetched and installed 0.0.0.
Mm-hmm. What is the best version?
0.2.5, and then I did something silly and put today's date. Let me send you a URL to the gem page. It should, and I was kind of just seeing if this works or if it makes it a pre-release, and it seemed to have worked. But perhaps it also broke it.
Wow, you really did do something wild there.
Oh, you got it. Yeah, I know, and it let me do it.
Yeah, you can do pretty much anything, I think.
Yeah. So I guess I broke Ruby gems. I'll have to talk to them about that later. When it's an RC, if it's like anything like a fourth dot, it usually makes it a pre-release and it's not available. Like you see the 2.4 RC5. That's like where you say final.
Okay, so we want to use the one with the date.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to be clever.
And then do we need the require?
Yeah, I think you do right now.
Okay.
I'm not sure why. If anyone in chat wants to fix that, pull requests welcome.
Now it's really thinking.
Yeah, saying, it's like, wait a second.
What am I doing here? How did I get here? Okay.
I wonder if it is like, I don't know. See, yeah, it's fine.
So it did 0. Do it, and it's just 2.5. Something about the string IO is ambiguous in the.
That's probably my fault.
Yeah,
not yours.
Okay. So we've installed Active Agent in the gem file.
And then next step is the installer. We could go through manually configuring it. I'm just
Oh, yeah.
curious if it works. It should work.
Okay. So here we go. Rails generate Active Agent install. Cool.
Wow. Okay. And then I assume you already have the OpenAI gem installed and configured.
Yeah.
That used to be an unknown, undocumented requirement that I have now fixed. The only thing you will have to do is check to make sure that the configuration has the correct credential key.
Okay.
Yeah, should work though. That's just loading the config file, and then this is where it loads your key.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me
If you look in your code where you're currently loading the
oh yeah,
gem,
that's a
the
good call.
OpenAI config, actually, it should be in the initializer OpenAI, I think is where they put it typically. But then you can see whatever environment variable you're using. Yeah, you can just slap that in instead. Should work. But yeah, we're doing it live, so we'll see if it works. Cool.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess maybe just a quick sanity check what's in there. Yeah, and maybe just like open a Rails console and let's see if we can talk to your ChatGPT through your credentials. Just say application agent dot with, and then message is the parameter with whatever we want to say, like hello. Oh, I can type now too, right? This is where tuple comes in handy. But yeah, you got it. And then, yep, and then dot text prompt. And then this is where it is very similar again to action mailer, because what we're saying is that we want to initialize a parameterized version of application agent with these params. So just like in action controller, you get params. You can see on your screen, you have params message. So you're setting what that message is. You can also pass other options in, but that's all you need. If you hit enter, it's not actually going to hit the API, but it's going to show you the prompt that it's using.
Right. It's like when you call,
including the context of the messages.
The mailer, you get the mail thing, but it's not actually delivered. It's not
until you say deliver now or deliver later. Exactly. So if you do want, though, you can say dot generate now. And so it'll take that prompt, call generate with its generation provider that you've configured, which is currently for Omini and all that jazz. And
so then there's the message. We're doing it live. And then here's the raw response. Hello, it sounds like you're ready to dive into something exciting. How can I assist you today?
But it didn't update the response. Interesting. Okay. That is a bug. Just gonna let you know.
Okay.
Weird. So what we should see is not your message at the top of the response. The top of the response should show its response. Go up, actually. What are we looking at here? This might have been something I did while changing. I think that was while I was getting the action prompt that I was showing working. Yeah, so where it says this top message variable, that should actually be the response that you see from the raw response there. So that actually...
How would we normally get the response?
From the response object, you would just be able to say response.message. Or you would be able to use callbacks for persisting. That's one of the things I didn't show in my live response.message, sorry. In my live example. Cool.
So that's the message that
that's the message you sent.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the prompt that was sent out. But for whatever reason, and I think it's because there's no tool call, and I just introduced a bug when there is no tool call. just to show off the cats. So I
should
could cut
we?
a quick release.
Ooh, okay. Well, we're really going to do it live.
Yeah, why not? I mean, we're here. What were you going to say, actually? Maybe it's a
I
little
was
more
going to say,
sane than cut a
was there a
release.
different version we should go back to?
Yeah,
Where
that's
that doesn't
one
have it.
way to do it. That will work.
Okay, let's try that.
Just do 2.5 then.
Okay.
Like a normal person. But that is good because you got some updated magic, I think, from your application agent. Might not. Oh, that actually might have overridden my 2.5 gem.
No, that time it did it. It just
Okay.
without telling it that to change it, it didn't change.
Gotcha.
I'm pretty sure that did it. So now if we go back to the console and try that again.
It's actually, yeah. Are you sure it went back to the old version?
Nope, I'm not sure.
Because I was actually going to say it's going to fail.
Okay.
It should have failed horribly.
Yeah, it didn't actually go back to the old version. And I think the reason why would be this, right?
Oh, yeah, because it already had an older version that was not that.
So they're regressed to
Hey, it happens. Yeah, but this is what I was saying. It's going to fail.
Okay,
and
cool.
I wanted it should fail. If you go back to your application agent and just change text prompt to prompt, I changed it because there was some ambiguity because active agent base has a prompt method. But this will work for our use
So you're
cases
saying change
here.
this to,
and then change on line 7 prompt to super. And that will just delegate it off. And then every agent will have a prompt action that they can just chat with it, plain text, no action prompt interface required.
oh, I need to just prompt now.
Sweet.
Okay, there's the response.
There's the actual response. And you can scroll if you want to see the prompt that you used. So you kind of have like a paper trail. And then you can actually use this in callbacks in your agent class. And we might want to do that depending on what you end up doing with your question responses. Are you storing your question responses?
No, they're not stored.
Well, then it should be fine. We won't need to do anything.
Okay.
We'll just have to load up what the actual context is. And then, yeah.
So I think one piece that is possible here is like right here, we're rendering plain text, but for the format text, but you can do HTML and other ERB views, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that's where we could actually render your partial as like the question answer as like an action call. And I am touching your screen again.
It's okay.
Like, why can't I see my stuff?
So if we go over to our prompt class, we're basically not going to use the existing prompt class at all. We can use
we can create a new agent. And there is another generator for creating an agent, or we can just yeah, I think we should use the generator. Oh, I'm sorry. Back to the README we go together. I feel like I'm holding your hand. I'm like holding hands on your keyboard.
Oh, that's
yeah, so this is the current version. We just did that. And then if you scroll down, this section of the README outlines what an agent is, and then gives you an example of a travel agent with search, book, and plan actions. So we can take that and decide what we want to name this Q&A agent.
Okay,
This is the
so
hardest part of the stream, actually.
yeah, naming is one of the hardest things. So actually, Dimitri suggests we start using GitHub Copilot to do the code for us. And I thought this was funny because last week we tried to do that, but we were trying to use Gemini and it was like all the gems to talk to Gemini just changed. So the LLM didn't actually know how to use the gems at all. And so it was just hallucinating how to initialize the gems, how to like, so I'm sure we would run into that problem here.
It is not trained on this repo because this repo is after its training date.
Right.
It does help to load it into like VS Code so that you can, it will generate vectors for you, and that's what it does under the hood. But it was actually one of the fun quirks I found of large language models is they're not great with novel ideas. So when working on this, it constantly would hallucinate because active agent didn't exist.
Right. So are we replacing our question class too with an agent?
Let's go back and decide now that you hopefully have a little more context of what active agent will help supplement. Because where are you actually fetching the data? Because that's something that we'll probably want to just do in a before action.
Right
just
here is where it is. It's getting the related documents and then it's looping through them to make sure it's under a token limit.
Right. Yeah, so like this is what you would probably want as a private method within your agent class. And then just inside the agent action that we're using for, where's the prompt that you have in like a content variable?
It's right here.
And then we'll use an actual like text.herb template for this that will pass in context and text. And it should work.
Okay, cool. So that means that the agent that we're generating could be a question agent.
Question agent with an answer prompt.
So
I guess it is a question prompt.
The
response to that is the answer.
So the syntax here is question
would be the name of your agent class. So this would be like the question agent. And then whatever we want. It could be question. I haven't tried this yet. I don't like it. It could be answer. I also don't necessarily
So what is the
like
next field?
The action name.
The action
name.
To
describe. Yeah.
I think answer makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
It feels weird, but.
And then what are the other additional actions that you want?
I think that's it. We'll just pull over
I just
some
wasn't
of those
sure.
methods
like from the example is a travel
Yeah, that's
agent.
just like to show that you could have many.
So these are all different actions: search, book, plants. Okay.
Yeah. In the past, I've the HR company I was working for, we had ones where HR rep could create a new job listing, or someone could apply to a job all through conversation and action calling to look up locations and things like that. So.
Cool. So I'm gonna run this generator and generate the. It says it could not find action.html in any of your source paths.
That's fine.
Okay.
That is a bug, and I will be like checking the recording for these and reporting my own issues here. But that's fine as long as it did generate what is in the JSON. That's like your action schema. And that's where we'll get to say whatever parameters we need to pass into the method.
Okay, and I see that it generated a spec file, but the spec file is empty.
That is also probably expected just because, yeah. It also says agent. Should probably only say agent once in the spec file. An additional action for searching help docs. It could be an action. Like if we wanted it to, just responding to chat, should we have an additional action for searching help docs? That's something I was thinking coming into the stream, but looking at the code, I was like, no, we don't have to. If we just want to refactor this one-to-one, it's prompting when the question mark hits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like for what Brian was saying, that might be helpful though if you want it to, like, as you're typing, use your Elasticsearch for results, but then also maybe consider if it should trigger the answer action based on the search results that are being fed back to it. But you could probably just sideload the same results the user's seeing to the agent. So the agent has that context of user started typing, user saw these results in your Command K window. And then by the time the user hits question mark, the agent would already have the loaded context, I guess. But
Oh, I see what you're, yeah. Okay.
that's I guess what I'm getting from Brian. Like if we gave the agent a search action, but we don't need to give the agent a search action in this case because we already know the text right there is going to contain that query with a question mark in it.
Okay. So then the question agent that's generated, you're obsessed with cats.
I have
Justin.
two. I'm surprised actually the doors are closed. That's why there's no cats on my desk or in my face.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to get rid of this.
What do we want to do to get rid of line 5?
Just get rid of all of it. Yeah, 3 and 5. I mean, we can leave the cats part.
Well, do we want to?
We will still have the prompt.
Okay.
But like maybe let's just start clean. I need to update the generator examples and such. It's not necessarily
our
meant to
agents
be
always have an instance variable message. That's what was passed in, or
no, that's just kind of like a default thing. But we can actually preserve what you were using if you want, or we can update it. If you go back to your example, you have the
it has the option of customize, like by default it's gonna get all the search the repository. Repository is a mapping of GitHub repositories to search.
Got it. And then the content, like the string template.
I'm not following, sorry.
Just the where you have your prompt partial in text. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, so the context string here and the text string, those would be the params that we would use when we're calling this action.
Oh, okay.
And then you can actually maybe grab that string out into your clipboard as well. And then we'll talk about how we get those in there.
Okay. Okay, I copied it.
And then maybe let me type for one moment while we talk about. I think I only have mouse. How do I keyboard? Where's that?
You should Is it working now? Yeah. Oh, sorry, I have them key bindings on. You want me to turn them off?
I'll be mindful of that.
Okay.
I think now that I'm at least inserting text, I can get through
It's not a problem to turn them off if we want to turn them off.
Now we're good for now. I'm just trying to think because the autocomplete is confusing me. Because what we want to do is render with locals, right? And then these would be like the context or I guess that's the actual question though, right? Is the text for the variable names. And the context is the documentation that was looked up.
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's try to go with something like this to start. And it might complain about needing the JSON format. Actually, I'm gonna add this. We can play around with it later, but okay. So now we have the answer. So okay, yeah. If in the console, if you wanted to maybe play around with this a little bit and see what happens, let's do question agent. Oh wait, and I can still type. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Unless you want to keep driving.
Yeah, you can type.
Yeah. So it's actually, and this is
yeah, I just typed new out of habit.
Yeah, it's kind of what you want to do when initializing a class. We can actually look at what this is doing under the hood too. But this is the ref docs, and then question what looking. And what this does is it creates like this parameterized object. And this is where params come from in your controller.
Okay.
So when you're using an abstract controller like Action Mailer or Action Controller and you have params coming in from like the request body or something, that's how they get put in their place. And then we're going to use the answer template. So we're providing the answer action here, a prompt template of text type. And previously, it should have generated your views with at least the view that will help us with the tool call if it's necessary. I forget if it is.
It generated the JSON builder.
Yeah. So let's just.
I can help.
They're all expanded. I just want to get down to views without having to scroll through.
If we go to the view, it's gonna. There you go.
Cool. Oh, it'll snap us.
Yeah.
Great. Because what it failed to do was give you a basic answer. Dot text dot herb, and you still have that in your clipboard.
Yep.
Slap it in there, and then remove the content. Yeah. Cool. And then make it herby. Yeah, because like that should just be a. Yeah, you got it. Speaking my language. You know the rubies from here. See, so it should be familiar. Like I like, I don't have to tell you from there. You're like, okay, it's a view. That's the
okay.
And then I guess hit enter. You might need to reload Rails in the console, but
yeah,
try it.
Maybe
see what happens. The prompt rendered oddly, but it gave you a parameterized generation object. Cool. Could we see your question agent?
Yeah.
Ask? Ask? Yeah, ask is a good action name for the prompt.
Yeah, good suggestion, Aaron.
I think it has something to do with this.
Did it not actually? Well, it looks like it rendered the template.
Huh, it did.
But do we need to say render? No, it did render the text template. We could try reloading.
And it doesn't return. The problem is it's not returning anything. I still think there's a problem with this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Hold on. What I'd like to see is maybe a working mailer or controller if you have handy.
Oh yeah. Okay.
that you have a plain text template rendered for? Because I kind of typed that with the autocomplete's help, and it also forgot to add the format. So since we're doing it live, let's try to make it easier on ourselves.
Mailer that.
So that just calls
this one just
mail.
is going to infer the
no block, no type. I guess we could try doing that and passing in the params that way. Yeah, so call prompt, and then instead of the format block, let's just call prompt with these, right? Let's make it simpler. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to hit this button first. And now I can type. Hopefully. Oh, is it not inserting?
It's not. It should now, though.
Well, now everyone knows I'm not a Vim guy. I'm just trying to delete
I said
this.
we could turn it off. You're just trying to delete that.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It makes you look way smarter.
Well, I appreciate it. What do
I had a
aiming
coworker trying to switch me over to Vim like over 10 years ago, and I guess if I switched, I finally would be used to it. Maybe, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, and then just pass in the parameters there and let it figure out the rendering, and it should just return on its own.
So in a mailer, on a mailer, you might do like you'd have context.
You could, yeah.
And text,
if you want to pass stuff into it like that,
you would do like
well.
context equals context and text equals text.
Yeah, and that would replace the params, I guess, and change it so you don't have to call with. But I don't know how that'll. Yeah, try it. Let's do it. It'll have those as instance variables now too, so we don't even have to pass them. I like that.
So
instead of trying to pass locals.
And this just becomes answer.
Yeah.
And then we need to say, so
yeah, let's
if
see
we
what it
do
returns.
That, then we're going to get that.
The generation object. Interesting.
I'm curious what happens if I say generate now. Oh, I misspelled.
No.
So missing template, question agent answer.
Do you have JBuilder installed? Because we do have the. Oh no,
that is a distinct possibility.
Or answer. Sorry, I'm gonna grab your screen. Answer is there, right? Okay. Just
but
want to make sure.
JBuilder gem is not installed in this app.
That is currently a dependency that I do not document or even manage in my gem file.
Okay.
You don't have to. How do you make JSON? You'll just need to make a tool spec here, and we could probably prompt ChatGPT to do it in the thing. But what do you just do, like JSON herb or something for your file formats?
Let me see if I get.
Or do you not have any JSON templates in this?
We do, I think, but they're mostly just they're pretty simple. So I think we're just calling to JSON on hashes most of the time.
I thought about, what LangChain Ruby does? They have this whole JSON structure rendering thing. So you can write Ruby and it renders JSON for your tools. And I just didn't like it. And I was like, if I'm going to make if we're going to have to write, I also thought YAML, but then it looks and feels weird when you're defining a tool with YAML. But yeah, as long as we have something JSON here, it's not even going to be using this tool call. One thing I need is actually it might work if we change your generate with to not include this as an available action. Let's try that.
So you're saying,
yeah, if we change generate, well, I guess we're gonna have to override all the defaults in the application agent. That's the way it is right now.
oh, well, no, if there's
Or
another
yeah,
way to
if
write this.
you just put in a JSON, just remove the JBuilder extension. Let's just have a JSON file. We'll just hard code some static JSON in there. It should be fine.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it should be okay. And then we'll actually have to change this Ruby in there from JBuilder to maybe kindly ask your Copilot to rewrite it into real JavaScript. Take this JBuilder and make it a real JavaScript object.
Well, let's see. I
think it has a different context above. That's another thing I like about the use case we're working on today is it is a context for an agent. It is not necessarily a conversation. Yes, the user's typing in a question, but you could see how this could be a background job or something that's done as content is created. You might want an agent to review it. The context isn't a conversation. It's just a message containing your content that you want it to review. Works. Let's try to render it again. Should work. I'm gonna need to exit out and come back since it's I don't know.
Well, I'm noticing that.
Or it's because it's a template that it's trying to render, huh? Can we do just JSON.erb? Will that work?
Well, it's actually the message is it's missing the layout.
Oh,
I just noticed.
That should have been generated by the installer. So
let's
similar
see if it's
to
layouts
your mailer
agent. Yeah. So there's not a. I think was it saying that the whole time and we just didn't. No, here it was looking for.
Yeah, it's looking for that one.
Yeah,
but it looks
like this is different.
It's not doing that because we're coming at it from the generation object. I think, which is fine.
So we need to views layouts agent dot what format?
Text, since we're just doing a text template, and then all you need inside of it is a yield, and it should work.
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it might not have the equal sign, and I'm wondering if mine's actually doing anything now that I look at it and the yield doesn't have an equal sign. It was working. You saw it.
Okay, that worked. It seems that your message is empty. How can I assist you today?
Okay. So it just didn't put your message in the template.
Yeah, because we changed these to instance
variables. Okay. And does it see that down below? Huh. This is just the prompt, though, I think.
Right.
So now we have to hit generate. Or is that the response?
This I did generate now.
Oh, okay.
But I think what's
yeah, it might be how we're formatting it.
Because it said, "Hello, how can I assist you today?"
In response,
and then it just has the instructions. You're a helpful assistant.
Yeah, that's coming from the application agent.
Mm-hmm.
Then it also looks like you have 2 responses in there. I thought I fixed it. Maybe that's coming in 0.2.6. Okay.
So if we go over to the application agent.
But we could also do the same with params, I guess. We're still prompting. If we go back, or I don't know, what were you going to do in the application?
No, go ahead.
I'm curious. You were a helpful assistant.
What I was going to
that instruction there, by the way.
Yeah. So is that something that we can? How does it work? We can have generate with, but then without instructions, and then in our question agent, we can just have instructions.
Yeah, and the instructions themselves are just the first system message, but you can add system messages if you'd like to the context as well.
Oh, I see. So there's no problem leaving that there then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you go back to our question agent,
Mm-hmm.
I think what we can do just to get it working for now is removing the params here and just setting these instance variables. Then we don't have to worry about it's you can do that one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But just grab it from params, and we'll still use the instance variables, so we won't have to pass it into prompt, and then everything should work. Yep. And then
I'm realizing
in the Rails console, change it to with those variables. It should be up a bit. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we did it a little bit different.
Oh, yeah. And then if you do dot answer, that should give us a prompt, and then dot generate now. I'll give us a generation object.
Given 0, expected 2. Oh, we need to reload.
Oh, yeah, it might be still using the old question agent answer.
So it says, it seems like the question is empty. Right here is where it's empty, see?
Yeah. Interesting.
So it's rendering the
and that is
text template. Context text. And the context. I was just looking to see whether we can see the params somewhere in here. Would we expect to see them somewhere in here?
Let's see.
See I see a params object here that it's empty.
Yeah, but I don't think that is for this prompt. It's for the prompt that went into the request. But the raw response doesn't include the raw request data. Okay. But yeah, it looks like we just sent it a blank message instead of our rendered template. So
is that
for
because
some reason, yeah.
So that's not the right syntax, is it?
Doesn't look like it worked.
What are we expecting to get back at this point?
The prompt message here, scroll down. Because this is just the prompt object that was sent. So the last message here should be that blank. Here, let me grab the...
go ahead.
Let's see. Right, yeah, that's the response back, but maybe there's something. I just want to see if the actual prompt is... Yeah, the prompt is a blank string. Okay. So yeah, this is not rendering properly. Did you reload it and try again here? What was it? Just prompt.
We got the question on the stream whether this is possible to download after all the videos are saved on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. You can just youtube.com /@thoughtbot. You can see this stream and get the video at any time, as well as all the past episodes. So what I'm wondering is this a syntax thing that we're doing wrong, or is this a bug?
It's rendering text template, but there is no text template being rendered. If you see here, it's actually specifying which template is being rendered, so it might be a bug. I want to just try something real quick because there was a reason I changed this. Because that is actually gonna, yeah, I think that was the bug that I was attempting to fix by changing this, because this was actually calling application agent's implementation of that, which then called super. So it was overwriting our template rendering. I think we can try it like this, but then we might be able to just have line 5 be the word prompt.
Okay, now we're seeing the content that we would expect.
Prompt context and generate a response. Action name could not be found.
That's something in the JSON.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine.
I believe.
That is probably
I could be
true.
wrong.
Line 5 we could probably remove, and then yeah, fair enough. It's just answer, right? Oh, you can type. It's just answer, and then yeah, there's nothing else. And
so if we do that again,
yes, that should be okay. Yeah, that's pretty finicky. You're asking for assistance. Yeah, I mean, we give it a really odd context, but that is its text response to you. So now you kind of have an agent that does what you want it to, but we need to plug it in so that it actually gets a real context.
Yeah.
And a real question.
So from what I'm gathering, there are, two different ways. There's a few different ways of doing this. Like we could have private methods in our agent that do the search and build the context, or we could pass it in like we're doing here.
Yeah. If it's like another model, you could just leverage that model in the action here. Like line 3 could be set from that search function call. That I think
so let's if you're cool with that, let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is again like a thing of preference. Yeah, no, I mean, like you could do it in a before action callback if you want to be like fancy about it. You could just leave it in the model that you already have it in, and that way you could do question dot whatever in your action. Yeah, documents, and then the build context to get the document into that string format.
Yep.
I think that's it.
We're gonna need the document for result. So have this encoding checker. Okay. Either way, we need to bring over some stuff. So let's bring over some stuff.
Again, or just use question. Your question.
Oh, class. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, okay, you could just use that on line 3.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it is just a preference thing, but instead of getting it from params, just do doc dot, and then I think the text will look up the. Yeah, so question dot, what was it, documents? Or how do you, yeah.
Yeah, it's documents.
You
I just-
initialize it with the question,
Yeah. Yep.
and then fill in the context. Is that the filters?
So actually, hold on one sec. Let's go back. Documents is the documents, but build.
But you need the filters in the text.
Mhm. Context is an adder accessor, so we'll be able to do that. I'm just looking to see
Context is where we
build
load in the doc, though.
context is.
But the actual filters we need to. Actually, where is this question currently used in the code base? It was in a controller, right?
Yeah, it's in a controller.
Because that's where we'll change the call to be the call to the agent.
Right. So let's do what we were going to do. I think that will be a little bit better.
Yeah, just to like set the context, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you have the controller handy that uses this class? Just to refresh my memory, I remember you showed it at the beginning of the stream.
Controller.
Got it. So it's just that, right? Line 5 and 7.
Right. But we're going to replace this with question agent, right?
Right. So question agent can use that question class, but instead of dot perform, it would just be context.
It needs to call build.
Build
we could do
and
that.
then question dot context.
Okay.
Do that in a, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, you could do it in this action, or you could do it in a private method. Doesn't matter.
Okay. So,
and that would actually be the context, yeah.
And then this becomes.
Yep.
If we then we can change it back to our original question. What is our remote work policy?
Something.
Undefined method car set for an instance of string. That's coming from active agent base in prompt.
Fascinating.
Ooh, is there a potential conflict between
your use of the word context and
context?
mine? Maybe. Maybe just
funny.
Call it get context for now.
Yeah.
It actually might be. Special words, man. It's hard. Naming things has been a fun part of this.
Action name could not be found for question agent.
Did that JSON file change again? No. Where's getting action name? Oh, and it's trying to process from the abstract controller. Oh, something is passing it the literal word action name. Go back to your question, agent. Build context should be fine. I don't.
Oh, I see an issue that text is not set when get context is called.
Ooh, that helps for
I don't
sure.
know if that's the problem, but actually it looks like that was the problem.
Yeah, curious.
The
there
remote
what-
work policy can be found in in-person. So it's actually the same response as before.
Sweet, just a little different package.
Right.
Refactor. Now you can, like, if you want, cut out some of the fat that you had. Again, not to call it fat, but just extra code that you didn't necessarily need for your
Right.
prompt
And
response, and
and
maybe
so
you still
this
need those for some of
becomes
your other AI integrations, but eventually you can get rid of all of your added boilerplate and replace it with active agent. Yep. Answer dot generate now.
is generate later a thing?
It is. It's experimental. Some things are a lot more stable than others. That one is one I have to come back to. Streaming, I also came back to recently. So this new version is going to have action prompt in streaming. Previously, it was just kind of like raw using the generation provider. So similar to what you would have gotten if you just used the OpenAI gem.
So how do we get the response?
You could just do dot message, I think, from response dot text above. It would just be response dot message.
Content
on line 7. Yeah,
it looks like that's an object,
content.
so
yeah, content.
it needs to be content.
Yep. Now, if this all works and we did it all live on stream, I'm not going to be surprised, will you? Because I will be surprised. Pleasantly surprised. And now I can say
there was an error responding to your question.
Hey, it was close. What's the error? This should be an easy one.
It's printing out all of the context, which makes it a little bit difficult to.
Oh yeah, the logging might be a tad verbose.
I think that's actually like the search class or something that's doing it.
Oh, okay. These are the Rails logs that we're looking at, or?
Yeah. This is, yeah. Let's go over to.
Because I wonder. Oh, actually, maybe in the command line too of the browser, we could just check what the response to that AJAX request, the XHR. Yeah, in the network tab, maybe. Run it again?
Sure.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. And
so 500 to prompts controller.
Rough.
And then
what's the preview? Maybe does it render anything? No. That's hopeful.
No, but we'll get we can look at the. Or not. Oh, here we are.
Somewhere in there.
Question agent, line 2, and answer. Just looking to see if we can see what the.
Maybe we can slap in a good old binding in that action controller and
Yeah, I
see
don't
what the
see
actual
the
response
actual.
is there.
Why did it not? Oh, here we go. Argument error. Wrong number of arguments. Given 1, expected 0.
Oh, how are we calling it in the controller? With. Yeah, that's right. Where is it talking about arguments that are expected?
It's actually
Line
in
5.
question agent line 2.
Oh.
Wrong number of arguments. Given 1, expected 0.
I mean, we could just above this, like right on line 5, slap in a binding.herb and see what's happening.
Oh.
And yeah, it should be in your logs now, just hung, maybe, depending on how the logs are.
So first of all, let's check param.
Okay.
So there's that. So that's fine. And what we would expect.
Yeah, and let's try to call that agent line. Yeah, maybe with just answer for now to see if that, or all of it, but
The something's not working with the. Well, let's
terminal.
if we I mean, we're doing the same thing right here.
Yeah. Should work.
And that works. Oh. All right, I accidentally hit Control C.
It's like a reflex.
Here, let me, I think if I run Rails S instead, it might work. Okay, yeah, now we have it. So we have the params, which is what we expect.
Yep.
And then
which we don't get.
It's interesting that in the console, it's not having that problem.
Yeah.
Let me just literally copy and paste what. Oh.
Huh. Let's check out the agent again.
The agent code?
Yeah. Just does get action. I mean, it works in the console.
I don't know.
Huh.
It's almost like.
That was the best part.
It's almost like wrong number of arguments. Given 1, expected 0.
Yeah, it's almost like that's not the line this error is on, because that is just the.
Oops. That's not what I wanted. Um, oh, that's. Was it continue? No.
You can just exit too.
Oh.
And you might need to reload this Rails server.
Oh, I forgot about the binding.pry.
Nah.
So I moved it down one line, and it did say
is
line 3 now.
In the let's go back to the add the binding again and go back into that context. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
we're
leave the
there.
binding.
We're there
and
now.
then refresh the search so we get back into it.
Okay, what should we do?
And so we have the params. Let's just try to load the parameterized agent. So everything except just like the question agent.with, our text, and nothing else. No prompt, no answer. Okay, so it does that part. And then just call answer. Okay, so we get our prompt rendered.
Yeah, and it has everything that we would expect.
And then calling generate is when it should crash on answer, yeah. Because that's your answer prompt. So you're asking it to generate a response for that answer. Yep. Wow, that is kind of confusing. Is it? Yeah, the line that it's coming from is just the action then being called. So I wonder if it's actually an error from the base agent, but it's just showing that it's from the action. That's bizarre, though. Do generate now with an exclamation mark. See what happens. Okay.
Undefined method perform generation, exclamation point.
Huh. Oh, okay. I suppose. Weird. Well, that's frustrating. I'm not quite sure what's going on. It seems like.
Is it possible that
forcing the param into the answer?
Yeah, so
of
Brian
using...
suggests maybe try forcing the param into the answer instead of using with.
I mean, we can. It's not the right way to be calling the agent, though, and it works properly in the console now. I mean, we could get rid of the private method call and just like do it all in the action, just to, for sanity's sake, see if it still says line 3, because it's bizarre that it's saying line 3.
Okay.
Because we're not passing any parameters to answer. Yeah. Yeah.
We still have the binding.
No. Wow. Given
Still same problem.
Can I see your application agent again? Just to make
Yeah.
sure we don't still have that random prompt thing in there. Yeah, no, it's gone. That's good. Yeah, no, I mean it's weird. It's working in the console.
What I was wondering whether there was some like that's something else is like that error
Oh,
isn't from the
still
answer method.
maybe it is still because of the context. Maybe
Mhm.
we just change the variable to be like doc context or something.
Let's do that.
Because the base class does have an instance variable that is
So then we go over to agent.text.erb. No. Answer.text.erb.
So I guess that's some of your code that we're refactoring. You have variables that collide.
Maybe.
Yeah, let's see. But it doesn't matter in the command line, which is confusing me.
No.
Same error.
Same error.
Hmm.
That's why I was thinking, like,
Are you
what's
just
the
using
difference between
bin Rails? Like, how are you booting your Rails
well,
server?
now I'm just using Rails S.
Oh, okay.
What I
Maybe
was
a bundle
wondering
exec
whether
Rails OS?
there's something with the render call.
Possibly. No, but the error happens prior to that line. Like, if you put the binding on line 6, between line 6 and 7,
Mm.
we'll get the error. Bro. No, I don't know, actually. Yeah, maybe it is just that, how we're calling that prompt. It should just be prompt at this point, actually. Because we shouldn't have to pass anything.
Okay, you want to try
Yeah,
that?
let's just remove that and the bindings and see if it. Though again, it's working in the command line, so did we just break the command line?
Let's go over and try that. It's still working.
Hmm. Wow. Let's see your controller one more time. I don't. It's so close.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, the error is on line 5, like line 2, but triggered from this line 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scroll up in the Rails logs, maybe. Like, why does it just say?
It's gonna. I can't. Like, there's
Oh, it's
all this
all of the content
context.
for the docs. Yeah. It's just weird that it's not being like the stack trace doesn't show that it's from 5. Like 5 calls that.
I'm just seeing if there was something obvious what I was printing out, but 5 calls that.
Right. So the error we're getting on line 2 should indicate that it was called from line 5 here, right?
So if we do,
Because like this is where the error is coming from.
Oh,
Oh, is the JSON response supposed to be just the text, or what's the diff on this file? I forget.
it was response with the content on there.
Okay, yeah. And again, that's not where the error is coming from. It's somewhere when it calls 6. Or generate now, which we'll call agent.answer. Sure, should work. Okay, yeah, no, it does say line 6 of the controller, but and line 6 is that. Yeah.
Interesting. We should also be able to remove prompt here, right?
I think so.
Hello, how can I assist you today?
No, so that didn't return the prompt when you removed prompt.
Okay.
And then just
But that
an empty
works.
context. That does work.
Why did that work?
Something about it's probably like something about the method missing on answer that's being called under the hood with the abstract controller. But I don't know why, like, it doesn't make sense. It's working. And yeah, it is without generate now as well. Like if we did,
you're saying for now, just remove that and see what we actually.
Yeah, maybe just like do answer.message, because the prompt itself will have a message if it formats properly. Because maybe it is just the prompt rendering is breaking for some reason. And then this should at least work and just give us a dumb answer. No. So it does break somewhere.
Undefined method message for an instance of active agent action prompt message.
I think the message on my,
yeah.
It is a message now. But so this, we should just see our question. I think. Or that, yeah, that is the prompt. That is the formatted prompt.
This is all the context.
Okay, so it can format the prompt. It is not that. It is when it's actually calling the parameterized agent that's in that prompt that it fails.
Yeah. It's almost like something's up with the rendering or something, like from the control.
Well, it renders.
You're right. It does just render. So what is it then calling?
Generate now is going to take that parameterized agent and load a generation class, an instance of a generation class, and that's what's going to call generate.
So Brian suggests, is there a naming conflict with answer?
Not answer, no. The word context is definitely used everywhere, but like the question object is a separate object, so it's not that. Text shouldn't matter, docs shouldn't matter. Like,
well, I'm not sure we're gonna be able to figure this out.
Yeah, I know.
And we're over time now.
We are, yeah. We were so close.
End on a down note, but I think we need to wrap it up for today.
Yeah. But I mean, I am at least pleased that we got it this far. And
yeah, well, it's working in the console, but not.
It's got to be some weird naming conflict from the controller, because it's working from the console, but not called from the context of within a controller, which also has a context, by the way. But that was fun. And,
okay, well, thank you, Justin, for joining me. I really appreciate it. And, I'm hoping to get to use Active Agent more and hopefully contribute along the way. And this is a weekly show. So next week's episode, I'm joined by product manager Jared Turner at Thoughtbot, and we are going to be. Oh, now I'm drawing a blank on what we're doing.
Just got agents on the brain now.
Yeah. So we're going to be. Oh, I remember now. We're going to generate. I have this idea about using Capybara to drive a web browser to do things for you
with
and
a large
then
language model,
to use an LLM to generate that. So to say, I want to go to this website, I want to do this thing, I want to, and to use Capybara.
I think that's the example I put on the website. It's also a CFP I submitted, so we'll see if it gets accepted. I wish you guys luck.
Yeah, we'll be trying that next week. As always, Thoughtbot helps companies of all stages get new products to market or improve existing products, not only Rails, but mobile applications, and we do great design as well. So if that is a need that you have, please get in touch at thoughtbot.com. That's it for now, Justin. Thank you again so much for joining me. And everyone, thank you for watching.
Thanks for having me.